I I'm inspired. My name is Neal, and I am a multi-dimensional spiritual being that's infinite, and it's expressing through a human body. I'm a conscious coach that assists conscious people in their 20s that want to exit the matrix and be with their soul family. I assist people with that. So if that's you, you can reach out to me via my Snapchat, via my email, and both of those are in the description of this video. And every Monday, you can join the Natural Balance Masterclass. And have you ever been like super inspired? How inspired? Like super inspired? Like how inspired? Like super inspired, and been so inspired that like you literally haven't taken time for self care. Like you're like really inspired, and then somebody's like, "Hey, you like ought to rest. Like you look like you could like actually take a nap to like rest your physical body," and you're like, no, I'm inspired, like I don't need to rest. Or you've been like super inspired and somebody's like, hey, do you want some water? Like you look like you could have a drink, and you're like, no, you don't need water because you have inspiration and there's movement happening and things to implement. Well, that's unbalanced. And what I'm offering is the Natural Balance Masterclass. And the Natural Balance Masterclass is um, it's something that I am, it's something that you are, and it's what is left over once we stop doing. Once we do nothing, what's left is natural balance. And so you're invited. Natural Balance Masterclass is occurring every Monday at 5 o'clock p.m., and it's a 1 hour masterclass. And this next upcoming Monday, which is, I think it's the 1st of January. So on January 1st, Natural Balance is hosting a 30-minute meditation to start the class. And then we're creating a way of being to literally become and then express in the next week. So that's occurring this upcoming Monday. I'm so glad, and I love to see you there. And I'm literally humbled and grateful to be here in this moment, in the presence of Dennis, in the presence of you, in the presence of God and all that is. Welcome you. Welcome Dennis. Dennis, introduce yourself, and let's begin there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, my name is Dennis, and welcome to the channel. If you haven't liked, subscribed, and turned on the notification button and shared, I encourage you to do that in this moment or after this video is over. I want to invite you also to, in the description, there will be a link to Neal's class that the Natural Balance class. There's also going to be a donation link in the description to where you can make donations. Neal and I are here in Costa Rica, and we're actually co-creating heaven on earth. And so every donation that you make goes to this channel and to the co-creation of heaven on earth.
And I want to speak to this. Right now, we're in the process of implementing a tilapia and koi fish pond on site on this physical earth-waking village where we're located. And by making a donation, you're contributing to the implementation of a physical tilapia fish pond. So your donation is a contribution that is having an impact on this community and on the next generation to move through this area. So like I'm blessed to be a blessing, and you're blessed to be a blessing, and it's in giving that we receive. So I love you. That's what I wanted to add.
And I have something else that I want to add, because guess what? It gets better. How does it get better? Well, I'm glad you asked, because not only can you donate, but you can actually come and visit in person Earthwaking Village and reach out to Neal or myself, and we can send you a link for that. We also have an event coming up in February where you can come in person. It's called the Remember Experience. And so don't know what that event's going to be like. The last four have all been, every single event has been better than the last one, and they just keep getting better. So that's also opportunities for you guys to plug into. And so the topic of today is Adam bit the fruit, or Eve bit the fruit when Adam and Eve were in the garden. Uh, Eve bit the fruit, and Adam created it. So my question to you and to Neal is, how did Adam create? If Eve bit the fruit, how did she create it? And actually, I'm going to speak a little bit of context on how I got on this topic. So, um, there's this woman in the community, right? And I really have a lot of respect for her. I love how she shows up and how she is and etc. And I've noticed myself following her and not following God. And that's come into my awareness, and it's been multiple times, and it's something that continues to show up until I feel like this is now the circle as it goes around. I feel like this is the missing piece, because the reason that I say that is I had judgment on women for biting the fruit, and I've had judgment on them for 30 years of my life, in thinking that, well, if they wouldn't have fucking bit this fruit, the world wouldn't be this shit show that it is. Like,
obviously,
yeah, like what the fuck? Man?
Yeah, that's common sense.
So it was very easy to not take responsibility, and so I'm here today. I'm taking responsibility. If you're a woman, I am sorry that I blamed you for 30 years of my life, and I'm taking responsibility today to not judge, but to be grateful for who you are. And so just thank you for being who you are, and being a child of God, and being queens and kingmakers, and being that nurturing divine feminine, and etc. So I'm sorry. Please forgive me for doing this to you for 30 years. And I love you, for being a child of God, for being a queen or a kingmaker, being queens, and recognizing that you are children of God. And thank you so much. And with that, I have the question that I wanted to ask you, the viewer, and also Neal. And why is it that Adam created Eve biting into the fruit?
Well, I'm going to start by speaking to the story that I've learned and been told and read. And in this story, Eve is allured by a serpent that is embodying a impulse of, if you eat this fruit, then you'll essentially have the knowing of God. You'll be as intelligent as God. You'll know what God knows. And so then Eve, out of curiosity or out of desire or out of some kind of a want or some kind of a look for something that was missing. And what was missing in the garden? Nothing. Like everything was there. All the food was there. All the water was there. Harmony was in the garden. So the only thing that was missing was something missing. There was nothing missing in the garden. What was missing? Nothing. Nothing was missing. It was all there. But Eve, deciding that something was missing, chooses to bite this fruit, and then communicates to Adam. And then through this communication with Adam, Adam then decides, like, God already told them to not eat from this fruit in the middle of the garden. But now that Eve has spoken to Adam about it, Adam decides to essentially follow Eve and not listen to what God said, but listen to what Eve said, and then bite the fruit. and now they both bit the fruit. Now they both entered the realm of judgment, so they know good and bad. Before they were in a surrendered neutrality of no judgment and perfection of all things, and gratefulness and joy and just being and being neutral and centered and aligned with the will of God. But now, after biting the fruit, they now know good and bad, which is part of the knowing. I don't know if it's the full extent, but it's also just a perception of good and bad. So they now have this perception of good and bad, and they start entering into the realm of judgment. So they start judging everything as being beneficial or negative or black and white. And so that's the story that I've been told. In that story, it goes, the serpent, desire, energy translates to the Eve, which then translates to Adam. So now to your question, you asked how Adam created Eve biting the fruit. How I would answer that question is that that the only way that that's possible would be if okay, so there's multiple ways this is possible, I guess. But one of the ways that is possible is that Adam lives multiple lives, and prior to coming into the Garden of Eden, chose his life. Life designed it, possibly with God, possibly sitting at the same table, designing his life, and designed Eve biting the fruit, and designed himself following Eve biting the fruit. So that's one way he could have created it. So that's one way, is that Adam lived more than one life experience, and being the first man, literally created by God in this context, that does essentially not fit. Do you see that? Based on the story. Because based on the story, God made Adam, and that was the first man.
Right.
So based on that, what I just said doesn't fit.
Right.
So then, if Adam's the first man, how did Adam create Eve biting the fruit? Would now be a question of I'm going to fill into this, and maybe you can speak your answer while I'm filling into it.
Yeah, like I'm still living in the question of it as well, but like the download that I got was that Adam created it because he took his eyes off of God and he looked to Eve for the knowledge of good and evil rather than following God and in direct connection to what God willed for his life, for his purpose, for his way of being and why he was there. So rather than being a man of purpose, he actually turned towards Eve, and by him turning and not following God, he bit the fruit as well. And I feel like that conscious attention towards Eve is what created it. That conscious focus. That's my answer.
Yes. I'm not like getting like a clear direction with this. But what I'm like experiencing is that that it like, so in the scenario where Adam creates Eve biting the fruit, so now like Adam's like fully responsible. He's like so one way is that I see that there, who knows how the brain was working at that point. What if both of their brains were connected, and what if Adam and Eve had the same thoughts streaming through their heads, and what I'm speaking to is like, it's like so we're tapped in right now, but most of humanity is distracted from that tapped inness that we are, so that we just stay distracted and we don't tap in. But when we focus, and when we focus and we like literally focus inwards and we go within, and focus on raising our energy and cultivating that, then that going inward has a it heals us and it grows us and it expands us, and so we're tapped in. And so I feel that potentially at that time, and I think that potentially at that time, they were tapped in to a larger degree because of less distraction. And why am I saying this? Well, I'm saying this because um, if they're literally communicating with God, if they're literally hearing God's voice and God's presence and listening to His guidance, and are designed by Him, then that's a level of tapped in that we we're just imagining at this point. And I say this to speak to that how Adam created Eve biting the fruit was that the same God that was flowing through Adam was also flowing through Eve, and it needed to be this way for for the perfection of the unfolding to get humanity to the point where it is today. And I think we needed to be in judgment, to be in the good and the bad, to create empires, to create societies, to expand the population to where stars, to where gems, literally beings of light, can be inoculated into the mass population. And then uh, that is like assisting humanity in raising their consciousness. And I think that this judgment, this good and bad, and this duality mentality um, uh, is a response to literally listening to God. So, how Adam created Eve biting the fruit was by listening to God, and so Eve bit the fruit. And it's different than what you were just saying, which I just noticed, because you were saying Adam turned away from God, but what I'm saying is that Adam was so tapped into God that Eve bit the fruit, and Adam also bit the fruit, and they were both listening to God.
Okay.
And I say this to speak to that. Um, they were listening to God in the sense that I'm including the ego into God, and I'm not like, because they listen to their ego,
Right.
and I'm including that in God. So I'm saying the ego is within God. So yes, they did what their brain was saying rather than what God was saying. But what I'm saying is they needed to do what their brain was saying for this plan, this duality to manifest on earth to get us to where we are today, so that we can now go from a duality mindset to a oneness mindset. And once that's cultivated and we recognize that we're all infinitely connected, we all have the same love energy flowing through us. The same love energy that's flowing through me is flowing through Dennis, is flowing through you. It's the fascia, it's the connective tissue of humanity. And when we actually begin to experience this, what I'm talking about, this infinite connection, um, what is happening is that we go from a third dimensional perception, which is thinking we're individualized people moving around other individuals, experiencing separation, to moving from that to moving to a knowing that we're all one, we're all connected, and the same thing that I'm tapped into is the same thing that you're tapped into. And when this knowing, when this experience happens, which is to see and to feel it, at that moment, we step into unity consciousness, into fourth density, into a social memory complex where we begin to move to where to where we are experiencing what Adam was experiencing, the degree of tapped inness. But the difference now is, then there was two people in God. Now there's like, let's say 144,000 people and God all tapped in as one, the body of Christ, and the fourth density consciousness, the Christ consciousness, uh, the, the the raised Kundalini, the Christian person. All these are pointing towards what I'm speaking about. Where's the kingdom? It's within you. Where is it within you? It's in the heart. And when we get out of our head and into our heart and we speak from the kingdom, from a place we're already at and not somewhere we're getting to, uh, that's when we tap into love and the infinite connection that we are. I said way more. I'll say the answer to your question, I included a lot of other communication. Um, would you like to add or?
No, I feel very complete. Like, I'm grateful that you added to it. And if you have other, like, I would love to hear whoever is watching this video, um, with what Neal just shared, like, comment below and how this resonates. And not only how this resonates, but make sure that you um, participate fully in these videos. And by participating, like, there's other programs and ways of connecting with this community and with people that are co-creating and manifesting heaven on earth. So that's the only thing that I would like to add.
I love you. I honor you. Your time is invaluable. Like, it's invaluable because there's no price tag you can put on your time. Your time is literally the only thing you actually even have capacity to manage in this dimension. And the thing that you have the capacity to manage, time, is actually an illusion. Um, so what you have the capacity to manage in this Maya, in the illusion, is time. I love you. Peace.